Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlena. Thanks for wandering by. So, oh, and here comes Pup. You can hear him clicking across the way. Oh, you can even see his reflection in the little fireplace. Anyway, hi. So, as you can see, what I'm doing is another kind of book recap. And I've been obsessively reading recently, so I thought instead of waiting until the end of the month to talk about all my books in my monthly wrap up or month gone by, that I would come in like after the first week, or maybe I'll try to do these weekly. Maybe I'll do like one and then do everything else at the end of the month. Anyway, it's because I'm like on a reading binge or bender right now. And I'm I know it won't last. I keep saying this, but it's been going strong. So I did so I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 books I think that I just finished reading this at the beginning of November. But also I love to do puzzles. I know I haven't really talked about it recently, but I've been doing puzzles. It's like another one of my little like hobbies that I got into recently, and I was obsessively doing puzzles and then it tapered off. Anyway, like my hobby kind of thing cycles and I'm just kind of okay with that. So I got this puzzle. So this is the poster that comes inside, and it's like it's all books, you guys. It's all book covers. And some are like classics, right? Because you've got like Little Women in there, and then some are and Handmaid's Tale, and then you have more current books like um Yellowface Station 11. And so I was realizing that I've read a lot of these books, but there's a lot that I also haven't read. So, of course, what I did is put everything on my Goodreads, TBR or want to read list or whatnot. So, anyway, without further ado, let's just talk about the books that I've read that I finished reading most recently. So some like this first book, I read most of it in October, but I finished it at the very beginning of November. So the first book that I read is called Our Wives. Oh, it's probably going to be here. Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Feed? Arm Armfeld. So like most of these, if I finish them, I've already taken them back to the library. Oh, and by the way, like the majority, like not majority, all, yeah, right now, all of the books that I'm reading are books that I'm getting from the library. I'm not buying any books right now. I just don't have the space for it. I would love one day to have, I'm talking too much. I'm talking too much about stuff that's not this book. But anyway, I would love to have a personal, like a home library. There's just no space where I'm at right now. And if I did, I would very much pick out specific books for that. Anyway, also realizing I'm like no makeup, very dark circles. Um, Whatever. Let's talk about Our Wives Under the Sea. And I'm going to try to go kind of relatively quickly. I made notes on each of the books so that I could remind myself. That's why another reason why I wanted to do this before the end of the month so I could like actually remember things about it. So I gave this book 3 stars. And so I don't do the half stars or quarter stars or anything like that. I mean, like, you can't actually do it in Goodreads, but people do it, anyway, because they need to like, I don't know, like I understand why they would want to, but I'm going full on with like, at least right now, with like the star system, just and if a book is pretty good, if it's not terrible, if it's okay, if there are things that I enjoyed about it, then it gets a 3 stars. If it's like a really good book, if it's something that really enjoy, then it's a 4 stars. And it has to be, for me to give a book of 5 stars, it has to be like knock my socks off, really impressive. Yeah, that's kind of like my way of doing it. But anyway, so Our Wives Under the Sea, I gave 3 stars too. Sorry, fixing the hair. So here's the thing, the quote that I wrote, and I haven't really ever, besides this book, left a review on Goodreads. So what I said about this one is I feel like this novel was meant to teach me something poignant about grief, but and it almost got there, but then it didn't. So this book, Our Wives Under the Sea, follows the story of these women, this married couple, and one of them is a scientist who had an expedition where she was in a submarine that went under the sea, and it was a trip that was supposed to only take 3 weeks, but they ended up being in this submarine underwater in the depths of the ocean. Doesn't really tell you where we are or anything like that, but for 6 months, and then she returns, and then strange things start to happen. So it's kind of like a horror, kind of like a mystery. I mean, I'm really bad about genres. Books are just books to me. I really don't love to categorize things a lot. But anyway, it was, so what did I write? So it follows that the story of these two women. You get the perspectives of each woman, the each wife in the relationship, and it's really sad, but it's also like, what is going on here? And it's kind of, I mean, it's a bit predictable in some ways too, but I really think that this book is about grief and loss, and I just don't know that it it got there, that that it really highlighted that topic. Because I wrote, I enjoyed parts of it, reminded me a bit of that thriller horror. Oh, it did, it reminded me a bit of that thriller horror Event Horizon, that movie where everyone is losing their minds, and you never really get oh, sorry. This is a different sentence, where everyone is slowly losing their minds. You know that movie Event Horizon? That movie freaks me out. It's like a psychological thriller, but also horror kind of thing. Anyway, um, you never really get solid answers in a book like this, so just be prepared for that. Um, and I can be okay with that if it makes me feel enough. Like, so I'm okay with it leaving you with more questions than answers at the end of a book, because I like that. But it didn't make me feel enough to, yeah, to enjoy that aspect of it. Um, I could explore lots of symbolism in this book. There's things to do with like religion. There's a saint statue that pops up. There's I really liked the bits with the folks that are in the submarine, and like the things that they do and what they hear, and like the characters, their relationships. I really did like, you do learn a lot about the relationship of the main characters, the wives. And there's a lot to do with like the unknown and death, grief, loss, death being the biggest unknown. Um, I did like, oh yeah, there was a bit about how the main character was reading up on this website that had stories that were written by, or I think they were like made up stories about, from women whose spouses were like, in space, or on missions or whatever. So anyway, 3 stars. I mean, like, if you like those kind of psychological thrillers, but also books that leave you with more questions than answers, um you know and getting through grief and loss, and then that might be a book, for you. So Our Wives Under the Sea by Julie Armfeld. Okay, so the second book that I finished reading just here in the first week of November is called Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I'm not sure that I'm saying that right. But in any case, so I'm super late to the party. Like I said, like these books, so that's wait, there it is. Yellowface. So these books that have been, like being talked about, buzz trending, and all that kind of stuff in new literary fiction. I've not been reading for, like, this is really like my new era. Like the kids are saying now, my new era of reading. I hadn't been reading fiction for some time. Anyway, so I'm super late to the party with Yellowface. This book has been talked about quite a bit. So if you've already heard, you know, tons about it, then you might want to click to the next one. But anyway, I've read it. I'm glad I read it. I gave it a 3 stars. And so, but I would recommend it to people, like, even though it's just sort of like in the middle for me. There are things about it, like I think it's a culturally significant book, and I think it's very of the time, and I think it's very, like, I think it's an important book. I think I would be happy to, to use it in like a class, classroom setting. I Yeah, anyway, that aside, just for as a reader rather than like teaching the book, because I always think of like how I would like teach the book. I can't help myself. So what did I say? I said I was so into this book for the first half of it, and that's true. Like plot wise, and just for like just the plot, just like and like enjoying the writing, enjoying the twists and turns of the book. Like I was really into it at the beginning. Um, I thought that the satire of it was so on point. And I imagined the irony of how folks, would respond to it. So basically, Yellowface is about it follows the story of a writer who was friends with a white American writer who was friends, pretty good. I mean, I don't know, friends. They went to college together or graduate program together. They were, I guess, friendly, hung out. She was friends with this Chinese American writer who became super famous. And um it's about, so what happens is, and this happens like, it's on the cover, like this is the explanation of the book. I mean, I don't care about spoilers, so if you do, then you might not want to watch this either. But anyway, the main character, Juniper, um has is friends with this woman Athena, who's Chinese American, and she um Athena is like has become a very successful, famous writer. Like right out the gate, she is, she's become famous, and there's a lot of jealousy. Anyway, Athena dies within the first, like, I don't know, couple chapters of the book. And it's not like a murder mystery or anything, but then it follows Juniper because she finds a manuscript written by Athena, and then, you know, um, publishes it. I mean, reworks it quite a bit and then publishes it as her own. And that's essentially what the book is about. And it just so you can imagine, like, how does she get away with this? What does she do? What happens next? Does she get found out? Blah blah blah. And all that stuff is really interesting. There's so much to say about race and our culture and social media and women, friendships, and the publishing world and things like that. What did I write? So I wrote, um, I'm sure, yeah. So I imagine like the irony of the folks, that would respond to it, like their reviews and stuff. That's exactly, kind of what was in the book already. Um, and I'm sure that there are like tons of really great reviews and long form essays on YouTube about this book. I'm sure that they're out there. It's really speaking to our current time and culture. But so just speaking on a plot level, somewhere in the middle, the plot twists and turns became like less compelling. It wasn't as exciting, like page turning as at the beginning. And the ending was quite creepy, even though like it was predictable. Like the ending for me was kind of predictable. There was ghost stuff that like scared me properly. um, but the excitement, and the humor, what did I say? Like, I don't know what I said there, but the themes kind of got lost at the end. So, like, all of the really, I think, good bits about what we were saying about, all of these larger, like, cultural, societal themes about, about racism and stuff like that. And it kind of got lost there for me at the end. I feel like this book probably pissed off a lot of people, and I think it speaks to culture beyond the publishing world. I said that already. And I feel like there were multiple, what did I say? I feel like, okay, so the ending I think is what I was disappointed in. And I feel certain that the author had like multiple different endings that they were considering going with, and then ended up going with one. And there was one that I felt like I thought of that I thought was like a possibility, and I sort of have wished that that had been the one. Um, anyway, it was again like a book I think it was like I liked, and I think that there's a lot about it that I would like to think about and teach and whatever, but like as a read, I gave it 3 stars. So, I mean, so much more that could be said about the book Yellow Face. So much more I'm sure that there is being said, has been said out there. But yeah, I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I read it. Okay, so the next book that I read is called Autumn by Ali Smith. So Autumn is it's the first in a book series, a seasonal quartet. So it's autumn, then she has winter, spring, and summer. And I mean, I saw it on a booktuber's channel, and I was like intrigued just because it's a seasonal quartet. I've never read anything by this author before, so I was not prepared for the writing style that I got, which I mean is fine. The thing about it is that, well, let me read you just a smidge from the Goodreads description of it so that you kind of have a sense of what the book is about. So, um excuse me. Daniel is a century old. Elizabeth, born in 1984, has her eyes on the future. The United Kingdom is in pieces, divided by a historic once in a generation summer. I think this was Brexit. Yeah. Um, Love is won, love is lost, hope is hand in hand with hopelessness. The seasons roll round as ever. I feel like that didn't do a very good job of explaining the novel. So it follows these two different characters, an old man and a little girl, but she grows. There's different time, like it crosses different time periods. So there's parts in the book where she's a little girl, Elizabeth, and parts where she's older and maybe in her 30s, I want to say. So I don't know what I was reading. Like I feel like there's what did I write? What did I write? I wrote, so I'm not at all sure what to say about this novel. What was it even about? And I'm fine with things that like seem like strange and out there and like have no like seem to have not have a purpose or a plot or I'm okay with things being weird, but it's really tough to answer what this book was about. It was full of a lot of very poetic prose, which I enjoy. I do enjoy. Like the book Orbital was kind of like that, and I really enjoyed that book. Anyway, like stream of consciousness, you know, I don't mind. But I know there was something, yeah, like cultural political in there, like that was the whole Brexit thing. Oh, okay, Shiloh. All right. Hmm. The relationship between the old man and the little girl was like, I know, like, I mean, it was a little uncomfortable at times. There were times where I was just like, it's appropriate relationship. Like, I don't know. It was a little bit uncomfortable at times. Um, there were some really lovely passages where the two like they made up stories together. One particularly beautiful one with a tree. Like there was some writing that was really, really good. Um, oh, there was lots of Greek mythology allusions in this novel. But as a whole, like the whole thing, there were bits that I enjoyed, but a lot of it was just like kind of incoherent. Like I'm not sure what the point was, or that it was supposed to be that there was no point. And to tell you the truth, it didn't feel like autumn. Like I'm like, so this book is called Autumn. I was expecting it to be kind of cozy. I mean, like, I would be okay with like the poetic prose if it felt like autumn. And I don't even know what real autumn feels like in the UK or even in the north of northern United States. Like it's always the same where I live. But I was imagining like metaphors around, autumn, right? And I guess if I dug deep into it, I could think about like like he's this, like very, I mean, he's like 100 years old and dying. Um or maybe dying, I don't know, close to death. And then this young woman, I don't know, but isn't that winter spring? um, but also like I mean, I guess there were some bits with the tree, but it wasn't really about like leaves falling. So like I didn't get any kind of like autumnal metaphor there. I don't know. What did I give it? I gave it 3 stars. It's weird because I've just given all of these books 3 stars. And I don't know that like my star rating really reflects what I think. Because all of the books that I've just been talking about, including this one, Autumn, have made me think. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'll continue to read the rest of the seasonal quartet, but now I feel like since I started and I've read all of autumn, that I might pick up winter when we get into winter and see how I feel about that. But I don't know. I mean, I think that there's something to be said about novels like this that kind of are just like these meandering, sort of reflective like bits about people and how I don't know how we move through life in the world in a way that's not like super plot driven. But still, like I feel like I missed something of the metaphor, something there. And it just wasn't autumnal enough. It just wasn't autumnal enough. Anyway, but I do have an appreciation for the poetic prose that popped up in there and the Greek mythology allusions, but that's just me. Okay, yeah, so that was Autumn by Ali. So I've also continued to read the graphic novel Saga. So I read volumes 2 and 3 of Saga, and talk about a I've given it a 4 stars. I'm just really enjoying this. This is like pure for me, like fantasy, sci-fi, I guess. I don't know, like I said, I'm so terrible at like the genres and micro genres of things, but it's by Brian K. Vaughan. And I'm still really enjoying it. I said it's purely entertaining right now, and I'm beginning to get attached to some of the characters. So essentially, it's following this couple who has had a baby, and they are from 2 different warring planets or factions, and they're one is like horns people, so they look, they have like ram's horns and I guess different kinds of horns. Um, and then the other people are the wings. And so the mother, why can't I remember anybody's name right now? The mother is from the wings faction, and the father is from the horns faction. And then they're escaping, running from these like royals that are like machines. They are like robots. They're on the run basically and trying to save themselves and their child. Everybody is kind of after them, and then the we start to meet these other characters that become like part of their crew, along the way, and it's just been really enjoyable. 4 stars. I'm sticking with it, and I there's a lot of volumes for this particular graphic novel, so we'll see if I get tired of it along the way, but right now, still really enjoying Saga. Okay, and finally, I just finished a book last night, which is another one of these that was on this this like Barnes and Noble puzzle book. So it was this one, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. Oh my gosh, I looked up how to pronounce her last name. It's Egg. Anyway, I have the book cover right here with her name on it. So this is another one that's like this book is I don't know how old, 2017, maybe older than that, 2015. And then Reese Witherspoon made a a series that is on Hulu that came out in 2020, like during like, height of the plague times. And I haven't seen the series yet. I think now that I finished the book, I'm going to watch that series. But essentially it follows these two families. So Mr. Richardson have four children, all teenagers, and they live in a place in Cleveland, Ohio called Shaker Heights. So very, very, and this is set in the 90s. So very, very suburban life, kind of like upper middle class family, plenty of money, and nice house, etc. And then they have a rental in the same neighborhood, and they rent it out to this single mother and daughter. Now, in the book, I was feeling like I thought that that character was supposed to be Asian, the that they were Asian, but I'm not entirely sure. I know there are other Asian characters that show up throughout the novel. The Richardsons are white. Anyway, but in the TV series, it's the mom and daughter, single mother and daughter, are black. So I don't know, I just thought these are cool choices to make. Anyway, so it follows them, and there's like basically it starts off with the house is on fire, and then it's sort of, you know, we need to know why this happened. And everybody suspects that the youngest daughter is the one who set the house on fire. And then there's just like it just unfolds, there's just a ton of stuff that unfolds. It's really, there's no one character whose story is like central. It's really a bunch of little fires everywhere. It's a bunch of little stories, of these people who are interconnected, coming together. A lot to do with motherhood, a lot to do with mother and daughter relationships. There's definitely like a very critical view of suburban life, and families like this, and also families that are different, like single mothers. And but there's just a lot to do with like what's expected, following the rules, that kind of thing. It was, like, I haven't even, did I give it stars? I gave it 3 stars, because I was definitely entertained. I was definitely in the story. But there were things that, when we have like multiple characters like this, I tend to get like lost, because usually like really only really like or the story, want to know more of the story of like a certain of them. But yeah, I know this book has been like very, very well received. I think the series did pretty well. I'm not sure. Sure, there's lots of other more like involved reviews about it, excuse me, out. I'm sure there's lots of reviews about it out there, but yeah, I'm glad I read it. I think I like having read these books, because I think they're part of a larger conversation for our current, times and climate, and I like that. Also really enjoyed a lot of the 90s throwback music and fashion and things like that that popped up in the books. So, yeah, 3 stars. It was good. If you haven't got around to reading it yet, I think you should. I recommend all of these books. None of them were like so terrible, but they weren't, I don't know, they're just not for me like the top of the top, but I really do think that they're worth reading, if that makes any sense, pretty much for everything that I've been reading. So yeah, so that was Little Fires Everywhere. So yeah, that's it. So those are the first set of books. What was that? That was 5 books that I've read so far this month of November. And hopefully I'll do another like little kind of reading vlog I guess that's what you call these, another little reading vlog sometime before the end of the month. We'll see, depending on how much more I end up reading. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope that you're enjoying following my reads. I know it's, not it's not all tarot here, but it's just kind of following my particular moods and hobbies, and I hope that you're enjoying it. And yeah, thanks for sticking with me, and I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.